Welcome to Milestone Moments, the show where we explore the journeys that lead to success. I'm Sheila Slick, your host and founder of 5 Milestones. In every episode, we will bring you insights from the minds of entrepreneurs, leaders, and experts who will share not just their expertise, but the milestone moments that have reshaped their journeys and led to significant achievements. So if you're looking for motivation, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and discover the milestones that mark the path to success. Welcome to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. I'm Sheila Slick, your host, and today my special guest is Theresa Melito-Conners. She's the founder of Dr. MC's Self-Care Cabaret, a suite of theater-inspired self-care and professional development services for professionals. Dr. MC holds a PhD in educational leadership. In addition to her doctorate and published research, she is a licensed K-12 counselor with a Master's of Education in School Counseling. She also holds a BA in Theater Studies. Her true joy is bringing her scholarship, her experience, and her zest to audiences of all kinds nationwide. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sheila. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm excited to have you join us here today. Let's start by asking you how you got to doing what you do today.
Yeah, thanks. So let's see. How did I get started? Well, it's been a little bit of a non-traditional path, I think. If folks were listening to the intro, what started out as an undergraduate degree in theater has somehow turned into a self-care business and a PhD. So I had dreams of going to New York and doing the theater grind and being a full-time performer. And I did that for a little bit, traveling back and forth to New York, but it wasn't enough. I always was feeling a pull back to education. So I found myself working back actually at my local high school as a secretary for a program that was running there. And I found that the work I was doing was related so much to school counseling, and I loved working with kids. My mom's an educator, and so it was very comfortable for me. And I thought, let me go get a master's in school counseling. Well, I loved that, and I loved being a school counselor. I ended up getting hired at a therapeutic high school here in Massachusetts, so I'm now got kind of launched into the special education arena. And then from there, I kind of realized that had kind of run its course at the time, but I was also, it was great experience. And I learned so much about working with kids with mental health issues, early onset psychosis, eating disorders, real significant, depression, anxiety. So I was finding it kind of difficult, to manage my own mental health and stress in that environment. And I went to my director one day and I said to her, express that this is a lot. I'm finding myself unable thinking about my students when I'm at home at night and not being able to separate myself. And she said to me, you need to learn how to not take that with you. She didn't offer any additional support or guidance or direction on how to do that. She just said I needed to figure that out. So I thought, well, okay. And that sent me kind of on a journey to start studying self-care and stress management. And I was in my, 20s at this point and was really turned to the work of Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Cheryl Richardson, Louise Hay, and all those self-care experts who have come before me. At this time, though, I thought this was just a me problem. This was just something that I was experiencing and other people didn't have this issue. Well, then as I moved through my career, I ended up in a position where I was now supporting, it was a statewide or trade association that I worked for. Now I'm supporting all the private special education schools here in Massachusetts, and as well as listening to stories from my mom and my mom's friends about teachers and burnout and stress and the workload and how difficult it is. And I'm thinking, we got to fix this. This is not helping. We need to, allow teachers more time and autonomy and take care of them. So I had always toyed with the idea of wanting a PhD, and that now it kind of seemed like the right time So I went to Lesley University here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and studied educational leadership, with my main area of scholarship being self-care and renewal for leaders and teachers. I wanted to study how, as a leader in a school, if you practice self-care, but also promote it for your students and for your staff, as well as your students, like how will that impact student outcomes and what, and school culture and climate and retention rates. I mean, we've had a crisis in this country and with education that was brewing long before COVID. COVID definitely sped things up a little bit, but anyway, so as I'm working my way through the doctoral program, I realized, this is information that not just educators need. Everybody needs this. So I decided to start a little Facebook page called Dr. MC's Self-Care Cabaret, which brings in my theater experience and my love of theater and performing arts, as well as my self-care expertise. And that has grown. To date, I've done, oh gosh, I don't even know, probably close to 300 presentations at different schools and organizations. I have an online course, which Sheila is very familiar with and actually helped me build the back end of that. An online course for creating trauma-sensitive classrooms for students. And the work has now expanded to cover other areas in addition to self-care. But I always feel like self-care is the underpinnings of everything, because you have to take care of yourself in order to be able to care for others. And yeah, it's cliche, the whole you can't pour from an empty cup, but it's also very real. So we also have a podcast. I've been published in educational text, as well as textbooks and lots of stuff. So it's been kind of busy, but I do keep a pulse in education. In addition to all of that, I am still a special education administrator in the greater Boston area. So I still have a pulse of what it's like really being in a classroom today and in a school, because it's different. Post-pandemic learning is very challenging.
So help me just define or clarify some of what
that was a lot of
self-care means, right?
Yeah.
Just like you said, you can't pour from an empty cup. So in general, or on average, right, what are some of the issues or obstacles that people face that prevents them from maintaining or practicing self-care?
Yeah. So great question. So I'm not here to talk about mani-pedis and bubble baths and forced smiles. That's not really self-care. What we talk about is really the foundation of how you show up in the world, like the things that you do every day to manage your mental health, manage your emotional needs. And that really gets deep into different areas, and they're called the 10 domains of self-care. And we really look at like how we move our body, how we soothe ourselves, how we rest, how we maintain relationships. What does our environments look like? How we practice self-compassion. And teachers, and especially other helping professionals and entrepreneurs, like we just want to kind of take it all on. We think we can do everything. And especially I think with educators, because there's children in the mix, and nobody goes into education to, they want to support children and go extra. And I've seen so many people that just go, like, they will give and give and give and give. But what happens is then you run the risk of burnout. So that's really common, that teachers have and helping professionals have difficulty filling their cup first, so they're better able to care for others.
Well, and that happens with entrepreneurs as well, right? Having to wear so many different hats, and sometimes even if you delegate certain things, you're still responsible or overseeing them. And
absolutely,
it's hard to set those boundaries where you say, okay, time to stop. You don't just clock out, right?
Right. No, you don't. And you don't as an educator or a helping professional. It's very difficult to set those boundaries. And that's a lot of what I talk about in my work, is setting clear boundaries and helping people manage stress. And I mean, there was a New York Times article last summer. It really upset me. And it talked about folks 35 to 50 maladaptive coping mechanisms on the rise, and alcohol-related deaths in women like skyrocketed. So that to me means that people they don't know how to cope in healthy ways. They're turning towards unhealthy coping mechanisms, when really there's so many other things you can do. But it does take work and intentionality to build that foundation of self-care so you can stand strong on it and show up as your best self.
Well, so now you've got your own business. What have been some of the challenges that you have faced managing your business?
when you start a business, I think cutting through the noise. There's a lot of experts out there, quote unquote, and a lot of people that are just trying to like sell you their thing. And there's a lot of temptation, I think, to get like to, buy this person's course and take this and you'll make $1 gazillion, or do this and it's gonna, triple your Instagram following, like all these things. But really, a lot of it is noise. A lot of it is just people trying to make money. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be very careful and a little guarded, I think, with where you're willing to invest your time and energy, because you don't have unlimited time and energy, and you don't likely have unlimited resources. I mean, I certainly don't as an entrepreneur. So I need to be careful and mindful about where I spend my time and energy, because there's a fine line between something just being a hobby and something becoming a business. And I think, and I've worked with mentors, and I've done a lot with, like I know, Sheila, you've done work with SCORE, which is a phenomenal organization. There's also Entrepreneurship for All, E for All. They're nationwide. I've done like those types of organizations will really help you and give you the foundational, information that you need. And there's others as well. And I had one of my mentors at E for All say to me, I was taking every little gig that would come my way, every presentation. Some of them I wasn't getting paid very much. Some of them were even volunteer. And of course, this was in the beginning. This was great because it helped me, hone my presentation and get my name out there and all of that. But it was taking so much time and energy to do that it was preventing me from being able to finally sit down and put together my first course, or to get the approval that I needed from the state so that I can award professional development points to educators who take my course. So it was preventing me from doing some of those other more foundational aspects of my business, because I was running crazy with the kind of the smaller things. And so I think, just realizing that if you want it to be a business, you have to treat it like a business. And sometimes that means cutting through the noise and really focusing on the goal and asking for help.
Well, and I love it because you're an educational consultant, or, wellness consultant. And sometimes a lot of the experts that end up being entrepreneurs didn't take those business courses along the way. So the fact that you looked for that support through different organizations, you basically had business mentors to help you answer questions along the way, is great for someone trying to start, or turn their expertise into a business. So I love everything you have done. I follow you on all the social media.
Thank you.
Your course, I, of course, not only love it, but love the fact that you're also receiving those points, right? So you're not just out there offering the course, but it goes towards these requirements that they need to meet. With that in mind, what is your next milestone?
So my next milestone, I would love to, at some point in the near future, be able to focus all of my energy on Dr. MC's self-care cabarets. Right now, as I mentioned, I do still have a full-time position as a school administrator, and I think that's amazing. And I think in my business, I should always have a pulse on what is actually going on in education, because I think that's a huge downfall of some presenters that go into schools. Their classroom experience or their school experience might be from 20 years ago. Classrooms don't look the same as they did 20 years ago. So if you're standing in front of me in a professional development workshop and you're telling me what things were like 20 years ago, that's kind of a turnoff for for the audience to be like, this isn't relative. This isn't, current research. Like, my research is current. My publications are current, and the experience is current. So I love having that pulse in a school. So in some capacity, I'd always like to be, maybe part-time or something, but to be able to be more full-time in the Dr. MC Self-Care Cabaret would be my next milestone.
So for aspiring business leaders and entrepreneurs, what advice would you offer to help them prioritize their self-care while trying to achieve, their personal or professional goals?
Yeah. So you have to remember that you are not a unlimited resource, you yourself. So you have to make sure you're taking time for yourself. You have to listen to your body and what it's telling you. I'll share a vulnerable example. Last fall, I think I was kind of burning myself out. I had several gigs last October. was running around different conferences. I have schools, plus the start of a new school year, plus just life, maintaining a social life and spending time with friends and family. And I got really run down and I got really sick. And I couldn't shake it. Well, in that moment, the business kind of came to a screeching halt. I tried to keep things going that I could keep going, or that I have other people that do work for me and support me. So I was able to keep some things going, but that was really scary. And so making sure and thinking back on it, I recognize where I had given too much of my energy. So, I wasn't taking care of myself. Even as a self-care expert, sometimes we don't take care of ourselves. Coming back from that, it's been more about prioritizing. Okay, what are the things? I haven't restarted my podcast. I also have a podcast, haven't restarted it. That's okay. That wasn't a priority. The priority was the things that were bringing in money. Let's get those back up and running. I had to shift some presentations around. I had to cancel some. Some of them I lost. Some of them I was able to reschedule. But focusing on those things, and the course, I really wanted to get the course up and running. So we focused there. But it really took kind of taking it all down to the basics and okay, what are the most important pieces? I wasn't going to be able to just flip everything back on. Some things were going to have to wait. Social media kind of took a little bit of a back burner. I wasn't able to post as much as I or engage with my communities as but it's okay. So knowing where the priorities are and knowing the things that you can ask for help, or that you can delegate, or that just don't really matter. It's okay to let those go, because you have to keep yourself healthy and functioning and managing your stress. Otherwise, you're your business. So you have to prioritize yourself.
Yeah, health comes first. Where can my listeners learn more about you, find your course, or follow you online?
So I have my website, drmcselfcare.com. And on there you can find a link to my podcast page, presentations, the online course. I also host Joyful Movement dance parties every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, free for folks to join. So there's information on there. It's called Dance Break with Dr. MC, because movement is very important to me. And making movement accessible for other folks is also very important to me. So that helps with that. And I'm also on social media, most active on Instagram and Facebook at Dr. MC Self-Care, DRMC Self-Care, and on LinkedIn, Theresa Melito-Conners or Dr. MC Self-Care Cabaret.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time and joining me today.
Awesome. Thanks, Sheila.
And thank you all for joining us on another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership.